Queen Elizabeth I tried to block Spanish colonization north of Florida by commissioning Sir Walter Raleigh to establish a colony on Roanoke Island, off the coast of what is now North Carolina. The first colony established in 1585 was starved out. The second one, established in 1587, vanished. In 1607, King James I once more attempted to block the Spanish by allowing a group of London businessmen to set up a colony in what is now Virginia. It became known as Jamestown. The businessmen thought the colony would be more profitable if it practiced a form of kind of a secular socialism or communism. Not the harsh totalitarian communism of the 20th century, but communal living. This meant they had no private property of their own. Everything they made and grew went into a general storehouse, and each person took what they needed from the storehouse, whether they grew or made it themselves or not. The project was a failure, until they decided to divide up all the land and begin fending for themselves. In 1620, essentially the same company or businessmen sponsored the settlement of a group of pilgrims to the north part of Virginia. But their ship landed far north in what is now Massachusetts. There they established Plymouth Plantation. The company had given up secular communism in Virginia, but it still thought it would work among the pilgrims because they were religious. As Christians, the pilgrims were supposed to look upon their neighbors as brethren and cooperate together. So they practiced a form of religious communism. However, the project failed also, and many starved. So they decided to abandon the communal system of government. Thus began an incredible period of American history from Jamestown in 1607 until the year the Constitution was written in 1787, a period of 180 years. It was a great time of trial and error for freedom-seeking colonists and immigrants. The new land of America provided them with more freedom than anything they had experienced in Europe. There was more freedom to think things through, to correct mistakes, and to pursue new ideas. As a result, people began to formulate principles which they came to believe would lead to the finest free people in modern times. The founders believed that solidifying principles of liberty in a written constitution was one of the best ways to preserve them. Now, how did this idea of a written constitution begin? The people who settled Plymouth were called separatists, or pilgrims, because they wanted to separate themselves from the national or the official Church of England. The next people to come to Massachusetts Bay, beginning in 1623, were Puritans. They did not want to separate from the Church of England, but they wanted to purify it. Now, because of bitter persecution by Charles I, thousands fled to Massachusetts, especially between 1628 and 1640. Their first center of government was Salem, and then eventually Boston. However, they made the mistake of having their Puritan church run the affairs of state. They drove away from their midst any dissenting views. This included a man by the name of Thomas Hooker. Now, when Thomas Hooker was kicked out of Boston and out of Massachusetts, he settled a new area that became Connecticut. Since he could not bear the arbitrary kind of theocratic government instituted in Boston, the question was, how exactly do we set up a strong and just government? Well, Reverend Hooke gave a very, very strong sermon announcing that he had discovered the principles of government which would be fair and just. He said, "The foundation of authority is laid in the free consent of the people." The villages of Connecticut banded together in 1639 and adopted a constitution written largely by Thomas Hooker. Rhode Islanders then copied this constitution, and these two colonies had one of the most satisfactory systems of government during the entire colonial period. Reverend Hooker's Constitution for Connecticut was the first written constitution in America. And because of its clear order, structure, and the delegation of power from the people, and because it did not recognize or even mention any governing authority other than themselves, nature, and God, it didn't even mention the king. It could be argued that the Fundamental Orders of Connecticut was the first written, deliberately designed constitutional system of government in the entire history of the world. Now, over the course of the 180-year period of trial and error, Americans tried communism, socialism, theocracy, monarchy, oligarchy, and dozens of different variations of them all. They had 180 years of experimentation, and by 1787, much of what they thought would work was still experimental theory. But they had lots of evidence of what clearly did not work. Now, the primary source documents in your homework include 3 early American colonial forms of government. One was created by the colonists from scratch. Another was created by colonists with a little oversight from the king and parliament. And the third was established almost entirely by the crown. Can you tell which one is which? If you were a colonist, which one would you prefer? Would you prefer to make your own system of government? Or make one with some help from the crown? Or would you rather the crown just tell you what your government will be like and tell you how you need it to live? A couple of very important things to consider as you read through these early documents from American history.
Where does the power to govern originate? Remember, to govern means to control. So, where does the power to control originate? That is an important question if we are going to determine how to manage that power. We need to know where it comes from. At a young age, an elephant is continually beaten until it completely submits to the trainer. It is trained to believe that power originates in the trainer. Another method for training an elephant is a little less barbaric, but has similar results. A baby elephant is tied to a large chain and stake. Try as it might, it cannot get free. Over time, it simply stops trying. As an adult, this conditioning keeps the elephant from attempting to break free from a small chain and stake. The massive 2-ton elephant could easily break free, but it doesn't. In either case, the elephant is conditioned to think that power originates in either the trainer or the chain. But does it? What would happen if the elephant suddenly changes its thinking and thinks that the power originates in the elephant? The elephant would trample the trainer. The elephant had the power to break the chain and trample the trainer all along. But its conditioning led it to think that power was in the trainer or the chain. On the other hand, the relationship between the elephant and the trainer did not turn out well when the elephant thought that the power originated in it. Elephant mentality syndrome is the thought that power originates in the trainer, the chain, or the elephant. In all cases, the result is the inability to establish lasting self-government in society. The trainer and the chain are the oppression, and the elephant is the chaos. How does this relate to the simulation? Have you seen examples of elephant mentality syndrome? You can probably see that the director is the trainer, teachers' rules are the chain, and the students are the elephants. You have probably already thought about how things would be better without the trainer or the chain. But is the answer to completely abandon the director and abolish teachers' rules? Where would that destruction stop? There will always be someone in charge and rules to follow. Perhaps there's a different way of looking at things. Maybe power originates somewhere else, and understanding that could change the way we look at government. Throughout history, every form of government was founded on the idea that power originated in the trainer, the chain, or the elephant. America was founded on a new idea. Our system was designed on the idea that power originates outside of us. As the Declaration says, we assume among the powers of the earth. The power to govern does not originate in any one of us. We assume it from nature. We are born with it, but it originates in nature and is based on the laws of nature. This idea brings about a much better state than the chaos and oppression that exists when we think power originates in the people, be it a king, an oligarchy, a majority, or the individual. The architects of our system of government said, in essence, we are going to overthrow a system of government in which the people presume that all power originates in the monarch. We are going to replace it with a new form of government based on a law of nature principle. The truth, the power does not originate with government or the person or persons controlling the government. What does this mean for self-government? Remember, self-government is about relationships, our ability to govern within our relationships with each other and within society. Recognizing that one person does not have power over another, that we all have assumed power separately and equally, completely changes the way we get along in society. Because the laws of nature treat us all equally, natural law is the first thing that we all have in common. It is the first thing that unites us as one people. Gravity, for example, treats us all the exact same. We can disagree about a lot of things, but the natural law of gravity that we can all agree on. There is no arguing it that we have that in common. Let's take 3 individuals. If one person thinks that they have the power to govern the others have 2 choices, either submit or rebel. If they submit, oppression occurs. If they rebel, chaos occurs. Now, let's say that they all think that power originates in the people collectively. Under these conditions, the mob, or the majority, has the power to govern. If the 2 outvote the one is left to either submit or rebel. They have the same choices under the king, and the same results, oppression or chaos. Now, let's say they decide that the power to govern originates in each of them individually. They all make their own rules. Some rules may be the same, but there will surely be some conflicting rules too. In this case, chaos occurs. But what if they recognize that there are certain fundamental laws that already exist in nature, and that the power to govern originates in nature, and that our ability to govern ourselves should be based on natural law? Now, they start having a common starting point, a foundation that brings stability to the relationship. Now they can make their own rules for themselves. But if they base them off natural law, even if the rules are different, they're based on the same common foundation. There will still be disagreements and conflict, but at least they're all playing by the same basic rules. Now they have a society founded on their common ground, rather than a society built on enforcing their differences. A more stable society can be built simply by recognizing that the power to govern does not originate in the trainer, the chain, or the elephant. The power to govern originates in the laws of nature.